I first came to Truro in the early 70s. I came to take a 2-week workshop in painting at Castle Hill, because I also am a visual artist. I drove in to Truro, and I think it only took about 20 minutes. I said to myself, this is where I want to be for the rest of my life. The poet Muriel Rukeyser said, the universe is made of stories, not of atoms. For years, I've used that as kind of the kind of motto or core verbalization of what it means to share stories. It's a way of connecting one human being to another, and that's how the world is held together. The Truro Memoirs group began around 1993 and eventually ended up at Council on Aging. We meet every Monday all year round, and it's free, and anyone can come. You don't have to be a senior citizen. A memoir is looking at a life through a particular lens. It's not the whole story, it's not an autobiography. It's a particular story that an individual discovers or feels like or is compelled to try to make some sense out of.
What I find at the end of the road is a wilderness outpost in a blue state living with a woman, a lovely unwashed girl from Roxbury, an Irish fairy queen.
Everywhere Jeff went, he carried a small stuffed animal that looked like Tigger from Winnie the Pooh. He kept Tigger very close to him at all times and always hugged him when he was frightened, and Tigger calmed him down.
I think he never speaks, mostly because of an old trauma. What do you think, Cosmo? When I asked this, Cosmo got a long dog look in his face and stood up and turned around in a circle and sat down again, much farther away from me, as if to say, stop with the gossip.
For somebody who hasn't written anything before, doesn't matter where you start. You will eventually have the story you want to have. You can start anywhere. One of the principles, I think, of creative writing, really, is if you narrow your focus, your vision expands. Example. If somebody says, I want to write about my relationship with my mother, okay, like, where on earth do you start? Like, it's huge. And so you're frozen, you know, like, oh, what do I do? If you say, I remember one time my mother, and then whatever comes into your head. So you've narrowed it down to something small. And then you have all kinds of things to write about. You can write about the place, the time, the age, the weather, the words, the dialogue, what she was wearing. You know, it just, you could write 20 pages about one thing, because the more you look at something, the more you see.
Jenny carried a black purse, the handles around her wrist as if they grew out from the carpal bone.
And Donna kept telling my mother how nice and cute I looked. And I didn't say anything, and then my mother paid her, and then we went home. When we got there, I went into the bathroom and I looked at my hair and I started crying.
You go to hell if you die with an unconfessed mortal sin on your soul. That's what Sister Lidwin, our first grade teacher, said. Missing Mass on Sunday or killing someone were mortal sins. I was in the clear there.
I've learned that the most important thing for me is to ask questions and to listen carefully to what each person has to say. When someone brings in a piece and shares it with the group, the first thing the group does is to say, what parts they really like. I love this sentence, or I could just see this so clearly. That tells the writer where the writing succeeds. The second thing we respond to is, what would you like to hear more about? Oh, you mentioned Aunt Julia. I'd love to know more about her. That opens a little window for the writer. The third way we respond is, what part just reminded me so much about this crazy aunt I had? And that tells the writer where the story connects. I love walking into that group every Monday morning and seeing all these people who are deeply involved in having a voice and sharing their stories. And I am just fascinated.